everybody, I'm Stacy with Stacy's Organizing and Decorating for Life. I also have a webpage called stacyforlife.com. On the webpage, it gives you a description of the life coach services that I provide. I deal predominantly with addiction, codependency, and grief, but not exclusively, because underneath all of that lies the desire to heal relationships as well as to develop and grow our soul and spiritual consciousness. So that's pretty much what I work with. But also, I've committed to write a blog on my page every month as of January. So I'm pretty proud of myself for consistently doing that. So I just wanted to invite you to go visit my webpage if you or someone you know may need life coach services in any of those areas. Or if you just want to read my blogs, that would be awesome. So thank you. Today our topic is going to be on divine order and going from subconscious to soul consciousness. I asked my friend Natalia, what subject I should talk about, and she said, I always like when you talk about divine order and the candle prayers. So that's what we're going to talk about today, and Natalia is an excellent Spanish teacher, so don't take it upon her when I say Orden Divino Siempre as not sounding as beautiful as it does when she says it, but I'm still just working and practicing. So in Spanish, divine order is Orden Divino Siempre. So first off, let's look at divine. Divine is, it could be described as your God, the divine, but it also could be described as a state of being, as I'm excellent, I'm divine, and so I don't want us to get hung up on that. And order is, there's a, law of order. So it can get into religion, but this particular video is not about religion, because I don't believe that the divine is necessarily religious. I don't believe that it necessarily has to be spiritual. I believe that it can just be humane. The thing is that you're divine when you're born. You're born with the soul, but your soul doesn't have any inkling about your race. Your soul doesn't have any inkling about your economic situation. Your soul doesn't have an inkling about which religious organization you belong to. And your soul doesn't care about what political party. Your soul doesn't care about all of that. So that's not part of being in divine order. Divine order is very expansive. It's above all of that. It's outside of all of that. But those things belong from the subconscious, because the subconscious is, the actual definition of the subconscious is that, I gotta get my glasses on. The subconscious, as an adjective, it's concerning the part of the mind of which one is not fully aware, but which influences one's actions and feelings. So that in a noun, the subconscious is part of the mind. It's just part of the mind. So the subconscious really deals with the mind and what you think, and those things that you learn after you're born. Those, ideas that you get from the social place that you grow up, discovering what race you are, discovering all these things, and then making your preferences from that. And oftentimes the conditions that we grow up in, we either go towards, we want to be more like that, or we want to be less like that. But the thing is that a lot of us, because of the natural desire to evolve, we grow up in situations that maybe we would prefer not, that we thought maybe could have been better. But the thing is do we evolve if things are just fine? We reproduce, but do we evolve? So there's certain things in consciousness that you accept. There's that unconsciousness in the way that you react. It said, that it's the unconscious part of your brain, the subconscious. So, the thing is that because of those things that we grow up in, sometimes we develop those addictions that I talked about, because when we have a soul hole, we're trying to feel those things. I'm not saying that you may not have inherited the disease, addiction, the genetic, makeup of it. I'm not saying that it didn't come from I'm stating that, I guess, the social part of it, it could come from that. But, what happens is that people, because they deal with this humanness and many human feelings that they think they're not supposed to feel, say, be, and do, because society has told them that this is supposed to be this way, this is supposed to be this way, that it's supposed to be compartmentalized. And see, that's when, in organizing your thoughts and decorating your perspectives, I have to change, help you reprogram some of those things that society has taught you, because it's not really reasonable. and we'll get further into that in a minute. But some of the things are just, it's like, you're willing to believe this, but you're not willing to believe this. I don't understand, you know. So on an unconscious level, it's not that it's just an unconscious thing that we as humans do, because we're just human. But the thing is that when we're trying to bury our soul, sometimes burying our soul comes with the addictions, but it may come out as codependency because we know we need healing. Okay, so then we're going to heal somebody else so we can be healed, but that's not healing ourselves. See, so we still have the problem, and what we've actually done in codependency is attracted someone in our life to help us heal that, but to make us discover the reason for healing that. But we think things are happening to us and not through us when we grow up in these situations, and then we start having adult relationships with these situations. Hence, underneath all the codependency and everything, like I've said before, is the 500 different types of grief that Melody Beattie and Dr. Drew told us about. So underneath that types of grief are people who have grown up in situations where they just tried not to rock the boat in the house. So they just tried to be perfect. So you got people growing up, part of grief is a perfection. That these things in grief that you have to give up, the fear of not being good enough underneath everything, and not being important enough, that we didn't get this when we grew up, or that we didn't get that when we grew up, and the fears that those are who we are. So we do everything in our adulthood, in our future, to make to keep ourselves from feeling that way through addictions and stuff, and then we don't want other people to feel that way, because it hurt, but we can't heal ourselves through that. So it's hitting that stuff head on, being able to look at the good and the bad and the ugly, rather than just feeling the bad from that sometimes there's a little good into that too, and learning what our strengths are. And that's what I do with organizing and decorating, is we clean out the closets of your mind, that subconscious, those things that no longer serve you, so we can organize it, so you can go to what you need when you need it. And we get that stuff out from under the bed, the yucky stuff, the things that you thought you weren't going to tell to anybody, and the hurts that, and everything. We just expose that stuff, throw it out, and we don't expose it to the public. I'm just saying we look at it and dissect it ourselves, and then throw it out. You ever done that? Been through, trying to clean your house, and then you find these old photo albums, and so you don't really get house clean because you get distracted. And so we got to get rid of all those distractions so that we can actually get down to work and down to business on uncovering your soul. See, because that's the thing, is these thoughts, these ideas, these subconscious belief systems, sometimes that's what's burying the soul. In fact, it is what's burying the soul, whether or not it comes out in addiction and the obsessions and compulsions to distract ourselves and all of that, because we don't want to hurt. Because this is the thing, is we think that we are divine when we feel entitled, like everything's going our way, like we were before this pandemic hit, and everything. When everything's going our way, we feel like, oh, it's all in divine order. But when things go like bad, we're like, oh, this is not divine order, because society has taught us that, and some people, even in religion, you get taught if you do good, then you're going to get good, and if you do bad, then you're going to get bad. The thing is that life on life's terms, and there's so many people here that sometimes what might be good for one person might be bad for another person, and so in order for everybody to have divine order, it isn't always going to look the same. See, it's an acceptance, and once we do the healing, we can get into acceptance. But people who are not healing are saying, I can never accept that, or I can never do that, or anything. And I'm not saying that there's everything that we're supposed to accept. I'm just saying that some things don't even matter, anymore, but we keep carrying it around, until we heal from it. We can't always help those things, as I've said before, that happened when we were children, but as adults, we can get a different perspective on those things. We can learn how to heal it and how we nurture ourselves first. Then we can nurture other things and have healthier relationships. And looking at religion, I was doing the research yesterday on divine order, and one lady, she talked about the healing process and just exactly what I said about, the good and the bad, that sometimes we're taught that, but divine order is bigger than all of that. Divine order, she said, for her is coming out in signs and synchronicities. And I think that's really awesome. And that's how I choose to see it, in the magic, mystery, and miracles. There's a mystery going on with those dreams and desires and goals and visions that I put out there with these candles, and we're about to get to those in a minute. But before we get to that, I want to start one more thing to touch on, because in that religion of mine growing up, it did bring on a lot of guilt and shame and a lot of not understanding. You're just supposed to believe this. They just tell you you're supposed to believe this and you're just supposed to believe this. And that just didn't work with me, because I just can't just believe something just because somebody tells me to believe it. I'm not that gullible. I'm the type of person who is a visual, and I have to touch things and see things to learn things and to be able to incorporate it and have a relationship with it. It's just like I was taught that. So when you have a soul consciousness, you've developed a relationship with something. You know, it's not just you thinking that it's outside of yourself, that any of those things outside of yourself, those distractions outside of yourself, are part of you. So when we get into Ma'at, which is the Greek goddess, you know, and I myself had problems because growing up in that religion, you know, that teachings was that you don't look at mythology or astrology. That's just a no-no. So, but, you know, so I've tried to understand this goddess thing myself, and I think what they understood was that soul consciousness, that all of us carry a piece of that God in us. See, so many people look for God or spirit or nirvana or whatever outside of themselves that they can't find it. Whoever they conceive that to be, that source, you know, whoever they conceive it to be, they look for it outside of themselves, in another person, in a relationship, in perfection. And that's not what divine order is. Divine order is everything. And it's the acceptance, not the lacking, but the acceptance. Okay? So make sure that I'm not, it's just accepting, because we can't know everything all the time. So I'm not saying accepting it blindly either, like I'm saying in religion. I'm just saying being open, that there's a bigger, higher purpose. Sorry, dog interruption. So it's more mystical is what it is, you know, that if we can look at the magic and mystery and miracles of this universe, then we understand that there's something more going on. So I looked at Ma'at and divine order. And so Ma'at was this goddess, you know, and she like had in one hand her heart and the other hand her feather, because the symbology of that is that you're supposed to be lighthearted. But when we get down to it, you know, there's different phrases and stuff, but in this, it's like destiny. And destiny is like our purpose. And that's what our soul desires, see, because when people are going through these old tapes and their souls are buried, oftentimes people are very depressed and suicidal through this course of society telling them of who and what they're supposed to be, and them having these ideas of who and what they're supposed to be, and they don't know who they are, and they're afraid and they're scared and they're depressed. And it's like, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't even know what I'm doing here. This is what people say when they're, you know, I don't even know what I'm doing here. And I understand that, you know, is that we just don't know. But that don't knowing and being open to that don't knowing is what opens you up to that magic, mystery, and miracles. So if you can get to that point where you understand that you can't should on yourself anymore, because you shouldn't know. If you didn't know, you shouldn't know. That's divine order, you know. Divine order is not having these crazy expectations on yourself, because if you have crazy expectations on yourself, you're going to have crazy expectations on others. It's that as human beings, we're all fallible, you know. And divine order and soul consciousness doesn't mean that you're perfection. It accepts that you accept perfection, you accept not perfection. That you don't understand how it all works and ties together. So now we're about to get into the candle prayers. I think Ma'at also expresses she's the goddess of truth, justice, and righteousness. So that's why she's got the scales balanced with the feather and the heart, that you're supposed to be lighthearted. So that was very important, and I left it out. Remember, if you want to, that, and that you do good, and that you get, you know, your destiny is a fair world. But there, you know, life on life's terms, for what might be fair for you might not be for somebody else, and so it's all of us fitting together as a puzzle to develop humanity. It's unfortunate that through some of the tragedies and crises that people have actually grown closer. And I believe that that's happening now with what's going on, despite the face masks, despite all of this. I've seen people who were, you know, loners before isolation, and now they're coming out and they're actually talking to neighbors and being nice. You know, there's all kinds of magic, mystery, and miracles going on underneath this if we're willing to be able to see it. if we're willing to look for those things. But you have to be looking for it. And that's when you start the healing process, is that, I don't know why this happened. I don't know why I felt this way, but I don't want to feel this way anymore. And so I'm willing to heal. I'm willing to find my purpose. See, we have a saying in recovery, you can't save your face and your ass at the same time. So sometimes if you don't tell somebody what's hurting, then you can't heal it, and then so you're not going to be able to save yourself from this, because this is going to be hard on people who try to save their face and their ass at the same time. The people who are in isolation and don't think that they need anybody and all of this and stuff. I don't know what people think, honestly. But I just know that there's going to be some people who survive this and some people who don't. And much of that's going to be on their belief systems, whether they can be open. And that's what this calls for. Soul consciousness is being open to the magic, mystery, and miracles of the universe, rather than being depressed on the way that you're going to let society tell you the way things should be. My experience with divine order was, and I've said this before, and unless you've watched all my videos, you might or might not have caught it, but my experience with divine order was that when my son was 17, 18 years old, and I could see him struggling, but I couldn't help him. I was praying for him, and I felt powerless, and I felt helpless, and I was talking to a friend of mine, and she said, Stacy, just pray for divine order, and I did the best that I could with my son. I would call him every 2 nights. He would say, Mom, I'm grown. And I'd be like, I know, I just have to hear your voice, and stuff. And so I lost my son tragically when he was 18 years old. See, he didn't know his purpose yet. He didn't know. He was only 18 years old. We don't know our purpose at 18 years old. And I saw him struggling with that. And the thing is that I had prayed for divine order, and he didn't find his purpose, And so we can't do everything. There's another will going on. There's another soul going on. So when I'm doing my candle prayers, first off, this ain't the first time Mary showed up in my candle prayers. And this isn't, like I said, about religion, because I'm not with any particular religion. I just believe in that everything has a place and a reason, and and even if I don't understand it, because I don't understand. I know Mary's very Catholic, and I'm not Catholic. I tried to be Catholic twice, and I couldn't pass the test. So this is what I'm saying. I don't think that soul consciousness and divine order is limited to anything like that. But I didn't decide I don't like the Catholic Church because I couldn't be Catholic. I still can embody certain things. There's so much beauty in Catholicism. So I like the art. I like the, beauty of it. I don't follow any kind of dogma, though. But my friend, when this started, she gave me a rosary. It's over there. I'm sorry. That's why I kept looking over there. She gave me a rosary when this all started. And she told me to get a Mary Guadalupe candle. So I know that people love me and care about me. And if they tell me, or I suggest to do this, and it's something that's doable, I can. You see, I've got Let It Be tattooed on my hip, because when I lost my son and couldn't figure it out, I had to figure out, Stacy, just let it be. You're not going to understand everything. And that's getting it into acceptance, that sometimes we just have to let stuff be and know that it's in divine order, because I prayed for divine order. So this is what divine order looks like for me, So when I have grievances, because God knows I was in grief, so when I have a grief, whether it's, something that I need to give up, whether it's something that somebody's hurt my feelings and or I'm upset with somebody or some situation, I have to turn that grief over. I don't have to, but I choose to turn that grief over to the candle of Mary, and I do. I'll say the Hail Mary even and everything, because I respect Mary, because, look, Mary lost her son too, and a lot of times in religion, they tell you, like I was saying, that you be good or bad and things. And so that just goes to prove that breaks the idea of religion, of where they tell you this, if that's what your religion tells you. And I'm not saying that, we're all supposed to try to act good. And the real deal is that even some of the bad people act good and some of the good people act bad. I mean, that's just the reality of everything. And it's whether it's intentional or not intentional, there's no perfect people here. Okay. So, because we're human, but so that's the first candle I pray to, and give all that grief and grievances there, you know. And then the second candle is because the flame of the candles are very powerful. You know, they're purifying. So I lift the dreams and goals and visions up to the ethers. Those of, you know, this is for my family and my friends, my fellowships, past, present, and future, as well as, you know, the spiritual people, my spiritual growth and development and everything that's involved with that. All of that gets on this candle, and I lift up their dreams and goals and visions, and I ask for healing for them for whatever purpose. And I know how powerful prayer is when other people are praying for you, that it's a force and that it's an energy. But there's also their will, you know, just like it was with my son, you know, and most people who have a grief. So we don't know. So, but it's worth the energy to put it out there, right? It's still worth putting it out there, you know, because I do lift up that. But I know that in the end, it's ultimately them. So in the end, it's ultimately me who can change only what I can change, you know, and the wisdom to know the difference. So on this one, I pray for my own dreams and goals and visions. And I've heard many people say, I know you're not supposed to pray for yourself. And I don't know why they say that you're not supposed to pray for yourself. But I do believe that my intentions and motivations and my soul consciousness to work on what I need to work on and to be able to take care of myself is worth having a candle for. So that's my candle prayers. Like I said, I lift those dreams, goals, and visions up into the ethers, up into the, you know, galaxies, the universe, the stars, the heavens, what have you, on both of these candles. And the fire is powerful. It can burn away the pain. It can burn away the things that no longer serve us. It can illuminate things as they pass through the fire and are purified. They can be illuminated and transformed. And that's what developing a soul consciousness is about. It's about going from that subconscious, because the subconscious is normal and it's human and it's from the mind. It's things that you're taught, things that you are, you know, not taught. It's all of that. It's encompassing, but so is the soul consciousness. So it's just walking through the grief over to the soul consciousness. Not being too hard on yourself and not being too hard on others. So I hope that this has been helpful to you. I hope that I've covered everything that I wanted to cover, because divine order is huge. If you have anything that you would like me to cover, any topic that you would like me to cover, then please email me at stacyreinick@gmail.com. If you need life coach services, again, it's stacyforlife.com, or again, stacyreinick@gmail.com. You can also find me on social medias, usually Stacy Renee. You'll see it right here, and on Instagram, Stacy Renee 8. So I thank you so much for giving me your time, because your time is valuable. And thank you so much if you have subscribed to this channel. If you have not, I ask that you will. And I wish you much love and peace. And I look forward to getting in touch with you, or connecting with you. That's what I'm really trying to say, is that I'm looking forward to connecting with you next week. So I'll see you then. Thanks. Bye.